Hey all, some very exciting news. We are very pleased to be back for another episode of Player Level 4, where traditionally we take your game to the next level. Got some really awesome special guests. We have spoiler season, which is my favorite time of the year. It's like Christmas time in SolForge. And why don't you take it away, Fox, my lovely co-host.
Why, thank you, Kit. Thank you very much. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are back, Player Level 4, the podcast that is the best. And yes, we are taking it to the next level this time. In fact, this time we're bringing somebody who loves to take it to the next level, somebody who's perennially at the top of the constructed and sometimes even the draft queues in the leaderboards. We have Technonaut, also somebody who played Bionic Yetis recently. Very interesting new deck. How are you doing, Technonaut?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me, guys. It's amazing. Minor correction. I'm not typically at the top of the draft queues, but I appreciate the praise. I'll be at the top wherever you guys let me be. So, thanks very much.
You're sometimes joking there.
You're
somewhere.
Sometimes there. Don't worry about it.
Gotcha.
Well, how's everything been going for you these past couple weeks? Have you been working on any new cool decks? What's up?
Well, as you mentioned, Bionic Yetis, I decided to take like a mishmash deck. And at first glance, I thought it was going to be pretty bad. Like, all right, you got half robots, half Yetis. Is this actually going to work? But surprisingly, it can trick your opponents, especially if your opponents are playing gargoyles. You can start off with robots and then just blow out their gargoyles with wall breakers. And it has a lot of utility. It has a lot more removal than like the AU decks that have been floating around. So I've been having a lot of fun with it. I'm getting really excited for this new season, though. I've been playing around with some, I guess, subpar decks, but now we got some new cards introduced, so it could bring some old decks and make them better now.
Yeah, I gotta say, I love that they did the win percentage the week that you happened to be screwing around with decks.
Yeah. that did make me chuckle quite a bit. Oh, Technonaut's not as good as we thought he was.
And I think we have someone returning with us, Fox?
Yeah, that's right. We've decided to let him out of the cage after putting him through weeks of the 12-step draft program. That's, of course, trademarked by Forge Watch. You just might want to keep that in mind. It involves all vault blockades all the time. But this week, returning with us is Radron. How are you doing, Radron?
Hey, I'm doing very well. Thank you, Fox. Thank you, Kit. Welcome, Technonaut. It's great to have you on. So recently I've kind of been stuck in a cage. So,
yeah, how is it down at the bottom of the charts, by the way?
Well, okay. So,
I'm sorry, wait a second. Who's Radron again?
Yeah, I haven't been writing or doing anything in a long time, but I have been playing SolForge. Believe it or not, despite the fact you don't see my name anywhere, I have actually been playing. I've just been doing a lot of goofing around. See, that 12-step program, that trademark, that we keep mentioning, it's a lot of fun, that all vault blockades all the time.
And it wins.
Well, unless I'm piloting, and then it doesn't win. Generally, yes, but apparently not when I can play. So I'm still hanging around the edges. I did play in the last invitational qualifier. Didn't get my. I went ahead and I played Pet Cemetery, but I didn't get my Varna's packs and my Shallow Graves until like the day before the tournament. So I had like 1 day to learn how to play the deck, and went to disastrous results. So test ahead of time, test often, and you'll probably do a lot better than I did.
I don't know. I played a grand total of 1 game with Pet Cemetery before I played it in that tournament. I got 16th.
Okay, RNG is a fickle mistress, and apparently she likes you. Apparently she likes
skill, brah.
Well, keep in mind, I did take a deck to the top 16 that didn't use Phoenix at all, so I was quite happy with that.
Ooh, shots fired.
Burn for both of you guys. Double
Pretty
burn.
sure
But only on depth, right? Only on depth, burn. Poor pun. Well, speaking of tournaments, there's been a couple recently. what have you guys thought of the decks that have been coming out of those? First one, why don't we go over the most recent one, that unheroic one? We had all these Kung Fu Mat 789 and Cibola 3D rounding out the top 4. What do you think of those guys' decks?
I really thought 789's deck was neat with the Marauders. I had a chance of playing against him, and he just got, like, I want to say it felt like he got perfect draws, but the cards I felt were really good card choices if you're playing in a Tarsus Deathweaver meta, which it definitely was. It was filled with Tarsus Deathweavers. So at the end of the day, I think 789 had a really good deck for that sort of atmosphere.
Yeah, I have to say that for unheroic, Necreum is still king. We see 4 decks in the top that have, well, all 4 decks in the top 4 have Necreum included, and I like seeing that Darkshaper Savant is still a very good card. Definitely, I still do love my Shapers, and so seeing a format where Shapers can do well does make me happy. But yeah, I love this, like, these value amalgamation decks, these mid-rangey, I'm just going to gain a little card advantage here and there and then slowly overrun you. Like, I can't wait to see what the upcoming set's influx of new cards is going to do to unheroic, because I'm still personally waiting for just a slightly larger card pool before I foray into that format. But I do like what I'm seeing here.
I'm just really happy that we only saw 2 decks with Tarsus in the top 4.
Yeah.
I mean, the last couple metas we saw, the entire top 8 was Tarsus. The last few unheroic tournaments since 2.0 came out, and I think even in 1.1, Tarsus was kind of king there as well.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I remember, like, I think the one unheroic tournament I played in was shortly after Tarsus was introduced into the metagame, and I still did pretty well because I was playing a deck that nobody expected, and so I won every single game. One of that tournament was Necreum Tempe's Burn, and I see there's sort of a version of that in Kung Fu Mat's deck list. He's got Flame Lances, he's got Gluttons. He doesn't have any Flame Shapers, which makes me very, very sad. But I hope that those Gluttons were gentlemen. That's my only hope and prayer.
I will point out that every single one of these decks has 3 Happy Meals in it, so maybe this is now the Happy Meal meta, I don't know. The other thing I wanted to point out is that all the decks except 789 have some form of Walker in it, and that's because 789 marauded to the finish. Sorry.
Did you actually just say that unheroic was the McDonald's of SolForge?
Something like that, yeah. So anyways, the other tournament, standard tournament, had 109 people. That's one of the bigger ones that we've had in a while. Was absolutely amazing from my perspective. Just saw a wide plethora of decks. Had Saul taking first with a UA deck that we didn't see. We didn't quite see in the previous tournament. We saw some variations of it, but neither of them made first. We have Memzi, who played a typical Grimgaunt Predator tempo deck. Tomos playing an NT control deck. Soccer11222 playing a traditional Yetis deck with Rageborn Hellion as only a one of. Holy Ghost playing another UA deck, showing that that's rising in some popularity. And Safer playing a full playset of Solstice Revelers in his UA deck. Fangs of Fury doing another Yeti deck. And Vengevine doing a Yeti deck. What do you guys think?
Honestly, it seems like UA is really growing in popularity. You mentioned that a bit, Kit, but I was really surprised to see this many in the top 8 this time around. I was personally expecting to see more of the Deathweaver, like Pet Cemetery style of deck, because I was seeing a bunch of those in the constructed queues, so I'm like, alright, everybody's going to be using this now in the tournament. And there were a lot of people running it, but not that many made it to the top 8, so that was very surprising for me.
Yeah, I did expect to run into the mirror a lot, and it does give me some hope that Tomos' deck was one card off of what I was playing, because I really like Explosive Demise, so I had to throw a Singleton in. It did win me a game. It actually did win me a game. I'm
Did you
not even
explosive
kidding.
demise a Phoenix?
I did
Were you
not.
that guy?
I did not explosive demise a Phoenix. I believe that I explosive demised a Ebanskull Knight.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So I have a question though. Is that in there for like a game finisher typically, or do you use it for like mechanics to like get rid of, like, if a Thundersore is blocking you, do you use it to not build the Thundersore or to grow the Thundersore?
I have done that, but
Okay.
mainly it's a finisher. I find that the deck is lacking in reach, and so I didn't want to put more than that in there. I didn't really want to be playing a lot of Tempes just because Spite Mage, I just needed to hit every time, and I don't want to risk anything. But yeah, UA Flex, as it's being called. Who came up with that name, by the way? I don't like.
Hectaris was calling. Okay, Hectaris on my stream. He said he was calling the deck Deepwood Strategist, or the type of deck, the archetype he was saying is AU Flex. So then I kind of ran with it and just kind of kept calling it AU Flex. You may have me and a few other streamers to thank for that silly title, but I think it encompasses the deck.
Well,
as far as throwing muscle, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is very flexible, and the fact that I actually see Asperian Scarab seeing competitive play kind of blows my mind. Yes, I know that it can cover multiple lanes almost all the time in that deck, and the fact that it's only 4 power means that a level 2 Weirwood Patriarch is actually like legitimately makes it into a threat. Whereas, like, an Echo Wisp, it would still not. So, this UA Flex I actually really, really like.
Oh, I wanted to correct myself, by the way. Tomos wasn't playing NT Control. He was playing the Pet Cemetery deck, so I did want to correct myself. And it actually looks like he played the same list that I played on the Forge, but subbing out Gluttons for Master of Elements, which is definitely the correct card to sub out, and definitely the correct card to sub in. My opinion.
As I said, it was my list was one off, and you were trying to convince me to play Glutton.
Yeah, I found the results of the tournament really interesting. You know, I think everybody went in expecting a Spite Mage dominated meta. We had people playing Yetis, and Yetis does pretty well against the Pet Cemetery deck. It has such a good early game, but if they can't kill you in the early game, they will lose to your late game. Varnus Pact 3 plus Tarsus Deathweaver is destructively good. But the flex decks, the AU decks, if you'll notice, a lot of them were running Bright Steel Sentinels, and in a metagame that, is focused on what kind of value can we get from something like Spite Mage, it allows you to block those Spite Mages without actually losing a creature. And that's something I found pretty interesting, and I think that's partly why those decks rose to popularity for this tournament. Sentinel counters Spite Mage, and I actually really enjoyed that. Even though it actually is what knocked me out of the top 16, out of the top 8, Sentinel is a very good card, and people still underestimate its potential for blowouts.
So the one thing I really did want to specifically cite that we saw in this tournament is a bunch of Warmonger mods. And I really want to ask you guys very specifically, what do you guys think of that card? What do you think about it seeing play? Like, we have one of these decks, specifically Safert's, playing a full playset of Warmonger mod, and he managed to make the top 8. So I'm really, really curious about what direction. I know that there were some gimmick decks that didn't take it, that weren't taken quite seriously in the beginning, but obviously things have changed.
First off, I think Warmonger's mod is just a very good card after they changed it with the recent patch, and they turned it in. Yeah, exactly. Once they allowed it to hit level 2 creatures, I think it opened it up for so many different strategies, because you almost never want to play it in player level 1. But once you get to that player level 2 and you've got a big Oros or a big Thundersaur or even a Gargoyle, it can do a lot of damage. And I noticed myself, when I play this deck, I would run 2 or 3, and there were times where I really enjoyed the playset, because then it would allow me to have at least 2 at once, and that could usually end a game. Overall, I've been really pleased with Warmonger's mod. However, I'd like to point out that the S1AL didn't actually use many Warmonger's mod. He went for the more versatility, like the one jetpack, one Warmonger's mod. And I think that's an interesting choice because when you want Warmonger's mod, it's so good, you kind of always want to see it. But I like the card.
Yeah, Warmonger's mod, really the reason why we see this card besides the soft gating really is Oros. The amount of life swing that happens from the breakthrough and then actually gaining back that life just gives you a lot of wiggle room to really to really level up and use regain control of boards or just control boards just because you have that much of a life buffer that if there's a card on your opponent's board that nothing in your hand really deals with, it's okay. You can go ahead and wait for the level up, or you can go ahead and you can go ahead and just ignore it for a while until you can actually deal with it with just a single card. So the fact that they were able to that they soft gated Warmonger's mod actually, and the fact that Oros exists really makes it kind of a very scary card in this deck.
Yeah, Ragen's still in my thunder there. I think the big thing, other than the fact that they changed the gating on Warmonger mod to, level 2, target creature, and then triple, in and of itself wasn't enough. But the existence of Oros as a card allowed it to become overpowering almost in how good it was. Now, it's still balanced, but in a deck where you're playing both, odds are generally Thundersoar and Oros, you get a Thundersoar rolling or an Oros rolling, and you Warmonger mod it, and it's going to be very difficult for your opponent to deal with strictly because of breakthrough. And then if you add in the fact that Oros will gain you life, or Thundersoar will just keep getting bigger, people are going to have a very difficult time racing you. And I think that's why the card is now seeing popularity. It just ends games. And so it's that reach that an AU deck sometimes lacks, but now you can play, that level 2 Oros and go double Warmonger mod, and what are they going to do? They're just going to die. And so I think that's pretty interesting. That said, we also are in spoiler season. And
season!
Everybody loves spoiler season. And so to start things off, we're going to look at possibly my favorite of the new cards, spoiled by yours truly, Spore Idolon. What do you think about that, Technonaut?
I actually think this is one of the strongest legendaries for this mini expansion. It may not seem that good because it stays in 8/8 for the rest of the game, but I think having that early 8/8 is amazing, and then you're able to get bodies from it every turn it stays alive. So I think overall it's a really strong legendary.
Having access to 8/8s that are level 1 is incredible. We've seen, people didn't really give Ebanskull Knight much credence when it was first released because, it just dies. How can that be good? But the fact that it's so massive, no matter what part of the game you're in, it's a really good out. And the ability isn't anything to sneeze at either, being able to poop out plants or being able to poop out other plants is you can gain a lot of value that way, especially in any deck that is running Roar.
Yeah. Plus, I think if you're playing Spore Idolon, it's almost guaranteed that you're playing Roar. And so far, I can think of 2 archetypes off the top of my head that this fits in. It fits in the big dudes archetype, where they will gladly take another 8/8, regardless of how it levels. Because all you're playing is 8/8s and 7/8s and 7/7s. People have a hard time dealing with that, apparently. But the fact that it also is a plant that makes more plants, and it's also something that was severely lacking in Life Bomb and Death Bomb archetypes, grilled vegetables. You need a big body that is just big. And sure, it doesn't level up well, but the fact that it's an 8/8 at level 1 is sometimes all you need later in the game. And the fact that it's a plant as well, so you have the option to cultivate it or use Nuada's ability on it later to make it even bigger, is just a plus. I think this card is almost strictly upside. And it's like my favorite card. because, well, SolForge is the only game that's ever made me love plants so much. I gotta love my veggies. These veggies are tasty.
I want to make a tossed salad joke, but I feel it's in poor taste. So anyways, this card is the one that I am most excited to brew amongst the legendaries with. There's a certain common that we'll get to later that I'm absolutely obsessed with. But this card is the one I'm most excited about. I definitely want to start playing Cultivate with this card. I don't know, with Yeti still being so popular, that I can, in faith, play Nuada. But definitely going to be throwing out some Cultivate with this. Really love that this is a plant itself, in addition to having plantaria everywhere. Just absolutely amazing. 8/8 is something that Utera sorely needed. Back in 1.1, when we were seeing Growbots get played heavily, there were people that were shooting Swamp Moss Lurkers in their deck for the Invitational itself. So, I mean, if people are willing to play Swamp Moss Lurker as strictly an underdrop, isn't this just better? It can be aggressive early if you don't have any other aggressive plays. It blocks and kills Ice Mage at level 1. I'm really impressed with this card. I think it's really well balanced, and I don't think the fact that it doesn't grow is a detriment, because an 8/8 at level 2 is already at least close to curve, and the fact that it's generating a 3/3 every turn. At the start of your turn, I think it's pretty relevant. But that said, we have another card. This card is the one that ForgeWatch got to spoil in our last Invitational qualifier. Mr. Benefiber himself spoiled the playtest name of this card, which was Weaponizer, and that's exactly what it does. It weaponizes all of your creature's armor. There's obviously some decks this is going to slot into, but why don't you tell us your thoughts, Technonaut?
Well, this is, we mentioned how the Idolon, I think, is possibly the strongest legendary of this mini expansion, but this is by far my favorite. I like the flavor it adds, and I like the fact he uses an electric fishing net to take out his opponents. I think it's just an amazing addition to a faction that typically doesn't have a lot of removal. So I think Aegis Knight, especially with more armor creatures getting printed, I think Aegis Knight might be really good, especially in the future.
See, I actually had the opposite reaction when I saw this card. I looked at it and I said, this card would play really well with Bright Steel Sentinel, right? And just robots. That's cool. Then I looked at it again and I was like,
he's not a robot.
Well, he's not a robot, and I'm already getting value on my Bright Steel Gargoyle and probably the second robot that I would rather play, and this is this feels very win more to me. Where yes I can see that there would be I play my Bright Steel Gargoyle and then I get to play this. Now my Bright Steel Gargoyle actually or not Gargoyle, sorry, Sentinel. Now my Sentinel is actually doing 9 damage all by itself, so it can trade up. It's like, that's cool, but this feels like it's a win more strategy where just playing a Gargoyle or a Sentinel and then playing another robot such as Gargoyle would have just the same effect.
I can certainly see that. I'm personally underwhelmed by this card. I feel that this card's going to be not that impressive. I can definitely see some places where it's going to go. I don't think... Sentinel is already called Senior Blowout by noticeable people for a reason. You don't really need to blow them out more once you've already played your blown out card. So it's a question is, how is this going to synergize with the rest of your deck? Are you forced to play the Nexus tech over Battle Tech in order to use this card? Are you going to start playing things like Battle Droid, which are noticeably weak in a meta full of Veric Embraces and Epidemics? Are you going to start playing Aether Guard, which actually needs something to get it going? It doesn't work with Bright Steel Gargoyle because it happens on your turn. And Gargoyle doesn't have armor on your turn. So the fact is this is making you play bad cards to be good. And granted, this makes those bad cards or average cards better, but is it enough? And I'm not quite sure yet. I'm certainly sure that there's going to be some people who are eager to play this right out the gate, and I definitely hope they show me that this is more than something that is average or just making you play bad cards.
Mm-hmm. Something to keep in mind here, I do kind of disagree a bit with you, Kit and Rajan. I mean, there's still a lack of good cards to play with this, but that said, even if you're just playing this in a robot strategy, something to keep in... There's like two things to really keep in mind. First off, this guy can trigger off of level 3 Bright Steel Sentinels at level 1. You don't need to play him early. He's not something you're forced to level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not
That's already good in and of itself. That's a key part of any, staple card. You don't have to play it in order for it to be good. But the other important thing is this is actually more of an aggressive card in my mind. Like, say you have 2 gargoyles on the field and you can't get through for those last 20 points of damage. Whatever. You play a Bright Steel Sentinel, move your gargoyles to the right place, and play your level 1 Aegis Knight. Suddenly, you've just destroyed the 2 blockers and you won the game. This is an aggressive card. This is a finisher. This is the card that allows you to get through, and then on some occasions also allows you to turn a level 2, like Bright Steel Sentinel, into just strictly eating a level 3 Oros. Because you're going to play the Bright Steel Sentinel in front of this aggressive level 3 Oros, gets 10 armor, play this guy in another lane, deals 10 damage to Oros. Oros will battle in, die to the Sentinel, and still survive, and still have your Sentinel surviving. So it fills its own very specific niche, and we're going to have to see if that's what the metagame is looking for. But I think it does what it does very well, and it's going to be a really important card in any kind of robot deck going forward.
Well, armor deck, to say the least. Like, any
Yes.
deck that has armor, I think it could definitely be potent.
So, that said, we also have another interesting card here to talk about. We have Everflame Mystic. Definitely one of the spicier cards.
Love the art.
Plenty of flames to go around. What do you guys think about it?
I think this will definitely probably try to find a home in some sort of combo deck, some sort of spell deck. Maybe Rajan could reiterate that later, since he took a spell deck early on in the earlier seasons of SolForge. But
When he was
I don't really, back when he was a player. But Everflame Mystic is one of those cards that I don't really want to think about it yet. Like there's so many ways you could go with it, like Johnny Appleseed. But I will say this: it's one of the coolest art I think in the mini expansion. I really enjoy the art, and I like the flavor text that goes with it. And he's a giant. How can't you love another giant? Giants are starting to become a thing, I think. We got Stonefist, and now this guy. So yeah, I definitely love the art. There might be maybe giant tribal coming out in the future here. We will see.
That'd be sweet.
So, I desperately want to love this card. It has a great level 1. It has a guy covered in 3rd degree burns. and he can tame a phoenix, which I haven't seen anyone who can actually tame a phoenix. But that ability, forcing me to hold my spells until after combat, when you want to be playing spells early to, say, remove the blocker in front of the Everflame Mystic so that you can get free spells, there's a big disconnect here with this card and its ability to really use it effectively as a leveling tool or as a value tool. I worry that restriction of having to hold certain types of cards in your hand that quite often you need before combat till after combat is really going to put the nail in the coffin for this card. But I will probably try to break this card in some way, shape, or form, but my initial reaction is that that after combat restriction is going to be a little too much to overcome.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty interesting card, and well, you guys have covered, its actual abilities pretty well. There is one big knock for me about this card, that Master of Elements just does its job so well. He doesn't have a lava beard. He needs a lava beard. What? How am I supposed to play this guy with Master of Elements if they can't be beard bros?
Yeah, beard buddies is very important in a spells deck. Without it, it really does add to the power of the deck.
I know. I mean, the lack of beards here is just, I can't handle it. So, what do you think about it, Kit? I mean, I'm just disappointed.
I mean, he may not have lava beard, but he's got lava tattoos, and any day in my book, lava tattoos trump lava beard. Whatever. Get out of here.
You're
third
crazy.
degree burns. Third degree burns.
Exactly. Yeah, third-degree birds. So, I do want to point out, this card, this Phoenix, only has a pair of wings. Everflame Phoenix has 2 pairs. Maybe that's why this card is not nearly as exciting to me. It has a full set less wings. But where I would probably use this card is sort of in a Pet Cemetery Redux, in which you're using this card with Lightning Brand. Yeah, I know, playing gimmicky cards. Using this card with Lightning Brand, and then after combat, dropping Varna's Pact, which is still creatures. So, I mean, I'm using this card as an aggressive 5/6, which is fairly good for an aggressive card. It'd be the highest power aggressive card we've seen so far. Actually be a 6/6. But, also using that to play Varna's Pact after combat. So, I mean, I kind of want to play this with both of those cards, Lightning Brand and Varna's Pact. And honestly, I don't think Lightning Brand's awful when you're playing a deck of really, really strong 5+ power dudes. So that's kind of where I want to see this, but maybe it'll be, like was said earlier, in a combo deck. I'm not 1,000% sure. I don't think that there's an existing home for this that just screams, play me, play me. But who knows? Maybe he'll just burn up and the third degree burns will kill him. Last card that we have to spoil from the legendary cycle for this set is a story character. Goes by the name of a certain embrace that we saw previously, Veric Ebanskull. He is the Lord of the Vampires. Got a sweet paragraph of lore on this guy. Has some really, really, really powerful level 3 ability that is probably never hitting your opponent. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about it.
I think that's a fair assessment. Like, the fact that it doesn't have a level 1 ability makes it really hard to play. Now, I could maybe see it like in a Crypt Conjurer deck, where they can constantly remove your creatures, and then once you get to late game, this guy could be potent. But all in all, I'm not really impressed with him. Now, like you said, the lore is amazing. I love his level 3 art. The flavor's great, but like, that ability is really powerful, but it's going to be really hard, I think, to break it in this next meta.
Yeah, no text box in level 1 is kind of the glitcher for me. I do like its stats. The stats are solid, and the ability is pretty cool. But dealing battle damage to a player, despite the fact that's kind of how you win the game, it's kind of hard to do unless you're ahead. And and if I'm ahead, I don't need a card like this. Like,
the thing I want to point out is, if you're ahead, how often is the gain control or even kill one of their creatures? Like, if you're swinging in with this creature and hitting them, and you didn't give this creature aggressive, they're usually not going to have a creature in front of it to do. Like, I mean, this card's most often going to still be a vanilla when you trigger it at level 2 and 3, I think.
Yeah, it just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I feel the same. This is the card that I think is definitely the kind of card I want to see at Legendary. It's very exciting. It feels very, very awesome. Feels very powerful. It's a great card that I'd love to be able to get into the hands of new players to be able to play with cool splash cards like this. But I don't think this is going to step foot in Constructed as anything close to resembling a staple. That said, love his art. Definitely love the entire set of new art that we've seen so far. Man, that new art director they hired is something insane.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Also, vampires. I'm just waiting for Vampire Tribal. It's coming.
It's on its way.
It's coming.
Yeah. Veric Ebanskull is one of those cards that I really, 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 really want to love, but like everybody else said, the lack of a text box at level 1 is a huge issue.
And 2 and 3.
We'll pretend that you're going to get value at least once from the card. Lyria had the same issue before. She was such she's so unimpressive at level 1. She doesn't have a text box, so it doesn't matter how powerful her ability is later. If she's putting you behind to play it, and if Veric is putting you behind to play him, it's gonna be a huge issue for you. I mean, especially if people are playing Yeti Warlords and just blowing you out left and right in Wallbreaker Yetis, you need something good early to stop them from getting ahead. And I don't think Veric Ebanskull is the answer. Now, that said, if somebody proves me wrong, I'll be more than happy. But could you imagine a deck? I will not eat a hat on stream.
I would tune into that stream. I would actually tune into that stream.
I may be insane, but what if you played this in a deck with Everflame Mystic? You played both of them the next turn, you went Fervent Assault, and you went Aerial Surge and moved them both over, and then just got to play Varna's Pact afterwards.
Well, that's next level move right there.
It's
imagine all those spells sitting in your hand doing nothing. I like this deck, Fox. You should play this again. I need a boost to my ego.
I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, but I really, really want somebody to prove us all wrong about this card.
If we can't make a card like Delpha Work that reduces variance, and believe me, there's a lot of people who tried to make Delpha work. How are you going to make this creature work?
Why is Delpha not work? Why do you fail me, Delpha? Why?
Regardless, let's move on to possibly the card with the best art in the entire mini-expansion that we've seen so far. We have Spirit Bloom Dryad. It's a very interesting card. What do you guys think?
I like it. It has a really strong level 1 body, which is one of the things that the Glowstride Stag lacks. And this is kind of like the Glowstride Stag's cousin in many regards. The big difference is it gives your opponent...
What happened at that bachelorette party?
Oh my
Stag's gone wild. Anyway, I think Spirit Bloom Dryad is an a really good common. It's going to obviously probably see play in life gain decks. Now, in Draft, I don't think it's going to be that good of a card, but I definitely think it has room for Constructed.
It invigorates both players.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave that statement standing right there, how it is. No, this card has very well-rounded stats. I definitely like the look of this card. I want to play with this card a little bit more. I should shut up now.
Yes, you should.
As an underdrop, this is a very solid card. And while I would want to see something with stats this aggressive to be played in an aggressive deck, that's not where I see this sitting. I see this sitting in... Yeah, I see this sitting as one of those underdrops that we talk about so very often, just because if you're playing a deck that wants to get to the late game, that needs to get to the late game, however much health your opponent has, doesn't matter. What matters is that you are gaining health. So having access to this, I think is really good for those late game decks, but I worry that it's still really not going to see play, just because it's so easy early to get a really powerful board presence right now. So I don't know if I don't think this is really going to do much for the meta, but I do like that we have access to a card like this.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I actually can't wait to try this out in the Runebark Guardian Oros deck. Mm-hmm. I think that's actually the perfect place for this card, which is a more aggressive deck. The important thing is now you have 6 ways on a creature to gain life immediately. And I think that's actually going to be pretty important, because if you're playing your Runebark Guardian level 2 and level 3, you want to be able to trigger it consistently. And you don't really care how much life your opponent's gaining because you're just going to deal all that back immediately, plus some on the investment, and you're just going to grow huge creatures with that life gain. You're not looking to prolong the game, and Spirit Balloon Dryad doesn't really prolong the game at all. Its level 1 and 2 stats are fine enough that, I don't feel bad playing it later. And the life gain making it so that your Runebark Guardian gets huge is, I think, actually pretty relevant. I don't think that you want to play this in an Arborist deck, though. I could be wrong, but, we'll have to see how that works out.
I actually think Arborist is where you play this. I imagine this card killing your opponent on turn 6, turn 7 with an aggressive 8-9 and 16-17 hitting at them. This lets you play Arborist and maybe Runebark Guardian, though I'm much less excited about that card. It lets you play them aggressively. It lets you pound your opponent's face. And the best part is you don't have to care about your life total. You're just trying to hit them with really, really, really big cards. If you can play Scatterscore or Idolon because it's an 8-8 or Ebanskull because it's an 8-8, you can certainly be playing Arborist as an 8-9 and just jamming that into them. And then, wait, your life total dropped below 100? Well, it's an 8-9 at level 2. That's still a little bit better than Scatterspore Eidolon. But you're also playing Oros, which, when it hits, it lets you win races. Like, you're playing so many cards that let you do well in races. I only want to play this with Arborist. I definitely want to be jamming in really, really huge, humongous creatures that my opponent can't deal with. I don't care what their life total is when I'm dropping it by 30 every turn. So I'm super excited about this card. Doesn't even matter that hold on, I'm going to need a minute. All right, so moving on to the next spoiler that we have, Chisel Hearth Archer, which I'm very fortunate they did spoil this because I was going to be very frustrated if there were no badonkadonks for me to talk about.
Oh my word.
So this card, it slices, it dices, it pings your Phoenix for some extra damage, and the card is really sweet. Really wish that, it could actually hit Phoenix level 2, but it can't because Phoenix level 2 doesn't have mobility. What is up with that? That's actually probably a good thing that Phoenix doesn't have mobility.
It's a pile of ashes.
Could you imagine the day that giving Phoenix level 2 mobility naturally becomes a nerf?
Man. Turn 5.
A nerf.
It'd actually be interesting if Phoenix had mobility instead of Defender. But anyway, that's a different card doing different things. I think that this card is going to be really, really strong in draft. I definitely think it gives Utera a little bit... it doesn't kill Grimgaunt Predator at any level, but it prevents a Grimgaunt Predator from taking over the game. The fact that it'll cost the card mobility is really important, and I'm really excited about it. What do you guys think?
It's definitely an interesting card. It's one of those conditional cards that you don't really need to play all the time, but you mentioned how it has such a large body, and I think that might be important. That's definitely going to be a factor in draft. I think this could actually see some constructed playability, or this may have some constructed playability simply because if mobility actually becomes a top-tier deck, this will be a card that people want to include to kind of have the answer for some of those mobility cards that could be ridiculous. So already we have Stormbringer and Emberwind, and those two guys, they're good buddies. They can get out of control really fast. So this could definitely help stunt a lot of that mobility growth that we've been starting to see.
Stormbringer doesn't have move.
No, I got you. I'm sorry. But when you put a Fervent Assault on him, then he definitely has move. But that being said, there definitely may be a lot of mobility decks coming out in the future, and if that's the case, I could see this guy seeing a little bit of play.
Honestly, the Archer's ability is very solid.
Mm-hmm.
Between Gargoyle, Predator, level 1 Phoenix, level 3 Phoenix. Being able to remove mobility from any creature, even at level 1. I love cards like this where I'm like, I can include one of those and be okay with it. Or I can include 2 of those and be okay with it. And if I don't need it, I don't need it. But when I do need it, it's really, really good. And level 1 and level 2, you're obviously probably not playing this a lot, but both level 1 and level 2 match off very well with Weirwood's level 1 and level 2. I mean, big card. That health on that card is nothing to sneeze at. You get even 2 points of power on that card, and suddenly it's gaining a lot of value. So as far as ability and stats go, it's a card that I would definitely be happy to slot into 2 slots in an Aether deck.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I also think it's pretty interesting. I don't think anybody's really mentioned this yet, but it also prevents, the NT mobility deck from really ever getting out of hand, because this card on its own will kill Doomwing without even touching combat. Its ability will take care of Doomwing at every single level without fail. Mm-hmm. It does 4, 8, 12. Doomwing has stats of a health of 2, 6, 10. And even if they do manage to pump it, it removes the all-important mobility from Doomwing, which makes it very, very difficult for Doomwing to ever actually get any more value. So, I mean, this card just strictly wins against Doomwing in almost every situation, because it also blocks off another lane. It's a really good card.
I do like that it locks down a Gargoyle, too, which your Terra typically has trouble dealing with.
Yeah. It has a lot of...
OP, nerf. OP, nerf. Nerf.
Oh no, guys, we got a nerf a rare. We're back to Shapers. But in all seriousness, we've also got another really, really good rare coming up. A new general for the field, as it were, in Orian Field Marshal. What do you guys think?
So good, it was spoiled twice.
Yeah. It's so good it was given its own spotlight. Like, that's how good this card is. I don't know. It doesn't seem like, you look at the stats and it doesn't really seem to level that well, but you're not playing this guy because of his stats. You're playing him because of what he does to the rest of your field. I could definitely see, as was mentioned in that really awesome Spotlight article you can find on SolForgeGame.com, it really can help grow wide strategies. Like you fill up your board, and then all of a sudden you lay this guy, and your board is completely aggressive now. I think it complements all of those lane filler cards, like Scarabs, Aether Hounds, Echo Wisps. After thinking about this card for a bit, I definitely think this card will see more play than I first thought it would.
Yeah, a few points of attack goes a long way in SolForge, where you don't really realize just how often you're like 1 point. If I could do 1 more damage here, I could do 2 more damage here. This game would be completely different. And Orian Field Marshal is one of those cards that actually gives you that ability to get that 1 extra point, 2 extra points, 3 extra points, 5 extra points, where you need it, when you need it. It's not gated. It has at least a decent attack. At all levels. It's not fantastic. Definitely not a fantastic body. We're definitely not going to write home about how large this creature is. But value-wise, it can give you a lot, and it's a very, very minimal investment to actually play this card in a deck.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really interesting as well. It's kind of falls into the Werewood Patriarch niche a little bit, in that it provides a wanted effect for consistency with a body. And while that body may not be great at every level, it's still good. Like, you're never going to complain that, oh no, I drew a Field Marshal and I have, 3 other creatures on the board. You're probably going to be pretty happy that you just play a Field Marshal, and then if you're playing the Grow Wide deck, you play a Roar right afterwards, you're left with a 7/5, and the rest of your board just got +3/+2. What are they going to do about that? That's going to be pretty difficult to deal with. So I think this card is great, and I think it's actually probably going to break into Constructed.
I'd agree with that.
I am curious as to what's going on with those eyebrows. I mean, this guy's face, it says something that he gets stronger and stronger. His face gets more and more covered up. I can't get over that head. I mean, I don't like it at all. But that said, I want to just strengthen something someone said earlier. A few points of attack goes a long way. We have seen that being true with cards like Thundersoar, and one of the big reasons that you see Patriarch get played in a deck where the only level 1 target is Thundersoar is because you want to increase that attack so that card starts doing something. You gotta block me eventually. I have no problem hitting you for 4 for 8 turns in a row until you're ready to block it. That's a lot of damage. And I think that this card's going to do the same thing. This card does, at the rarity, the same thing that Wildwood Patriarch and the Shapers used to do, and that is strengthening your underdrops so that they're actually a threat and actually impacting the game. This card does a really good job of that. I'm kind of impressed of it. That said, still got a few more spoilers to go. 3 to be precise. The next one that we have for you is Borean Mystic. Borean Mystic's a card that can move other cards next to it, and it's not level gated. What do you guys think about this?
I like it. I think it could be really awesome with Emberwind Invoker. Being able to get more movement off a guy while growing it even larger. Obviously, Doomwing, cards like Doomwing, you could get more value out of your Doomwing. Notharian wrote an article, and I would happen to agree with him that I think this could help a lot of the mobility decks that we're starting to see.
Well, Borean Mystic, it has Activate, therefore it sucks. But it's not gated, therefore it's awesome. But it has Activate, therefore it sucks, but it's not gated, and moving things is... I don't know where I stand on this card. I mean, the stats are actually very good. It has the very solid body at all levels. It has a very relevant ability, despite the fact that it's Activate, and Activate is terrible. So I'm just not sure where I sit. The mobility deck really does need cards like this that can actually move things. Ever since early when Windcaller Shaman was gated, mobility or just the movement decks in general have struggled to really function because there were just so many cards that you needed to level for them to be relevant that it just kind of fell apart if you didn't get the right draws. So a card like this really will help with the consistency issues of actually getting the movement that you need out of the board. But Activate.
So, something I noticed about why cards at level 2 that could be amazing aren't seeing play, things like Korok, things like Delpha, things that could be really strong, is if they have to take a turn to really exploit their abilities. In Korok's case, you can only play one other card with him. You can't set up any sort of combo if he dies the turn after you play him. In Delpha's case, 10 power's really easy to deal with. I think that really the thing is that he's got 11 toughness. I think that means he's always going to stick around for at least one turn in player level 2. And I think that'll actually make him see play. The fact that you'll almost always be able to get an Activate out of him if you draw him on level. And I think that might push him into play over other Activates where you see them not getting play, because I think he's going to stick around. But again, that's on level. If you're not playing him on level, then by all means, leave him as a level 1 that has an awesome Activate, and hope you get to use him.
Yeah, I think this card's really something that we should probably keep an eye on. It's such a strong effect. I remember back in the days of closed beta, Windcaller Shaman was not gated. And because it wasn't gated...
It was awesome!
Flameblade Champion actually was considered, one of the strongest cards that we had back then. Because you just play Windcaller Shaman in the deck and your opponent didn't have a board. And then you had old Rageborn Hellion with it as well, and your entire board got huge really fast. Didn't even matter that they didn't have health. You were getting +3 attack on all your creatures every combat. Because
that's just because of Rageborn Hellion actually pumping all creatures in combat back then.
No, I know. The combination of Rageborn Hellion and a non-gated Windcaller Shaman, and then free board wipes every turn practically from your Flameblade champions, people couldn't deal with that. And so I feel like this card has a lot of potential, but we have to see where it's going. We really have to see what's going to happen, because if this card proves that it's constructed worthy, we could see a return of that exact kind of strategy again, with a few changes now that Rageborn Hellion's not ridiculous. But, I mean, it's got a lot of potential, so I think we should definitely keep our eyes out for it. That said, we also have another card here that's pretty interesting in the form of Aetherforge Oracle, and this card, this card is sweet. Good stats at every level. What do you guys think?
I don't think there's a single person out here that hates this card. I think it's a solid card. You have a 6/2 at level 1. Now, the only detriment is that it only does cards, or it only does spells. But in a spell deck, that could be amazing. Leveling up Varna's Pact. You could be cheating in cards your opponent doesn't know you're playing. I think there's a lot of potential here for strategy. And the fact that his body is really large, or not body, his attack is large at every level, I think we could definitely see him being played.
There are definitely 3 girls in that picture. You definitely should not be calling this a him.
Oh, I apologize.
Did I just see somebody make the suggestion that Kit should play Kitfinity again with this card?
We'll be getting to that.
Yeah, I could totally steal Kit's thunder right now talking about Kitfinity, but I won't. All I want to do with this card is level Energy Surge. That's all I want to do. I don't care about anything else.
What I want to do
I finally have a card that I can play, feel happy playing it, because it's going to trade with something, and I get to level Energy Surge.
Until you get Epidemic.
Shut up.
Don't worry. We'll give Kit a few more seconds to brew on his... To stew on how much he wants to play Kitfinity again. I personally love this card. I think it's going to be really fun to play. I mean, the stats are great at every level, so it's going to trade, which is something that Spells decks wanted already, a good body. And sure, well, it won't stay on the field ever. It will trade, and it will get you incremental advantage while you're doing it. And by the time you roll around to rank 3, people are going to have a very difficult time dealing with the fact that half of your hand is leveled every time you draw a new hand. It's going to be awesome.
I've actually run out of things in my room to break in anticipation of waiting to play with this card. So the first thing I want to do is when this comes out, I want to call up Zerandals and let him know he got a card that might let him play his Apocrymancer deck. But while the phone is ringing, I'm already going to be building Kitfinity, because when... I love this card. This card is like me at its essence. I loved playing Technosmith 4 times in one turn between Keeper of the Damned and Lyria, and having so much fun leveling my entire deck. Didn't even care if I went infinite. The fact that I have my entire deck at level 2 before we get to player level 3 was why I played Kitfinity, because then it doesn't matter. If I'm living to player level 3, I'm going to win the game. Usually. So the fact is that deck hasn't had a whole lot of game that it could play in a while, and I think that this card, having a card that has 6 power to block with at level 1, is really strong. I think this card's going to be obscene in draft. I think this card's going to be an engine in a lot of decks that currently aren't viable. This is the other card that I'm going to be brewing the most with if I can get myself to take a step away from Kitfinity again. I've been waiting to play that deck since 1.0, and I haven't been able to play it in like 4 months, so... I'm itching. This card is absolutely amazing, and it's a human. Seems like we need some human tribal up in here with all these human cards. What do you guys think on that?
Well, Kit, I think you do need some. You do need to get some Benadryl if you're itching that badly.
That wasn't my question, Foxy.
If there was actually a card that pumped all humans, I think human would probably be the most powerful tribal, because there's so many humans out there that do amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at all those abilities. A human tribal is already the most powerful thing out there.
So, in closing for the spoilers, the last thing what you have is the spell cycle that only targets on-faction cards. I want to say before I let you guys run wild with this, so many people that I consider pretty strong brewers and pretty strong players have messaged me, and they're like, "Is Savage Oath the best card in the game?" And then like 2 minutes later, they message me, "Oh, it only targets 2 Terra creatures." I'm like, it's a second word in the sentence. So I just want to point out and reaffirm and reiterate for everybody, these only target unfactioned cards. This is going to be a mistake that people make, just like certain casters from Forge Watch tend to forget that Allied is actually a mechanic and Spite Mage doesn't just go with Crossmare.
Wait, what?
You weren't there for this. We are not going to speak of this.
No, I saw that. I laughed a lot. It was pretty funny.
So Technonaut, are you going to be brewing with any of these cards? What do you think?
Well, definitely. Honestly, I know a lot of people have been saying how they feel Tremor Charge is probably one of the weakest of the pump spells, but I don't know. I think all of them are really, really solid. They do 2 things, which is really nice to have on a spell card. Granted, they only hit 1 faction, but I think Savage Oath and Tremor Charge are going to be really good. I also think Battlesuit is amazing. You get to put armor, and you get to increase your attack. Yet another card to increase your attack for Alloin. I don't know. I think Savage Oath might see the most play out of all of them, or at least initially, and it's simply because it's a much better Fervent Assault. And when you get to level 3, it's kind of a house.
These are draft utility all-stars. Like, I actually like all of these cards. The Battlesuit is really good. Armor, the 1 armor is significant, and 5 attack is a lot of attack. Actually, isn't this strictly better than this is strictly better than heavy artillery? It's just heavy artillery with armor. Oh, that's true. I mean, okay, yes. So it can't it can't target everything, but it's better than heavy artillery on an Aloyan creature, and most of the Aloyan creatures are the ones that so a lot of the Aloyan creatures are the ones that you want to keep alive. I mean, in draft, you have that battle tactician. Just drop this on there. Now it's going to be pumping creatures for at least another turn, if not 2. Tarzi.
Battlesuit on a what is it? Warbringer, Warwalker, Warwalker.
Ooh,
what do you think about it on
yeah.
I mean,
that excites me.
That's 7 defense at level 1. That seems legit.
Drop it on a gargoyle.
Why not?
That reminds me of Beatstick's deck that he won one of the original tournaments with. Had an undefeated deck through the Swiss because he was throwing heavy artilleries on Bright Steel Gargoyles, and they're like, "Oh, well, you can't block this. Take 14. Oh, you can't block this either. Take 14."
Yeah, I think Tarsian Pack, great in draft. Savage Oath, great in draft. Tremor Charge, it's fine. Fervent Assault's better.
I might disagree on that, but we'll see.
A heroic, and this is a common.
Yeah. Like, I think Tremor Charge you get a lot of value from. I'm sorry, Kit. Didn't mean to step on your toes.
Okay.
Go for it.
No, my toes are
Step on
them.
He has
big toes. It's pretty easy to step on them.
I just found that out. All right. But yeah, I don't know. I really think Tremor Charge is going to be much better than we first think. But that's Technonaut's opinion.
I think the card's going to be insane in draft, and I think it's because it's a common and you're going to be able to see enough of them to build a deck around them. And I also think it makes cards like Windborn Hellion actually insane in draft. In fact, I'm probably going to be drafting Tempes just off what I see here. If I can get one of these in my second pick, I'll for sure be going Tempes just so I can snag this and I don't know, playing this on Stonefist Giants and having really, really huge guys that are going to take you at least 3 creatures to take out. I'm more than happy with that.
What about Tarsian Pact? Neither of us really mentioned that. I think this is also a really strong card. All of them are really amazing, so it was really hard for me not to talk about all of them. I think Tarsian Pact has some really good potential as well. What do you guys think?
Tarsian Pact is a very good card in draft. Regenerate 2 is very relevant, especially with the amount of things in in each faction that could do with just a small attack and health boost, and then the added regenerate just allows those 2 cards to get at least 3 cards value, if not more. As far as, I mean, we've seen in draft that, you know, a Night Gaunt just by itself is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
You pump it at all, and then it just wrecks house.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Something I actually am looking forward to do is potentially drafting Necreum Tempes again. I know a lot of people hate it, but I really think it's actually quite good if you're drafting aggressively in this new format, and I think Necreum Tempes may actually be a thing in the new draft format once this expansion hits. But just think of dropping a Tarsian Pact on a Berserk Drake. I mean, the sucker becomes a mobility 1, 6/8, regenerate 3. That's so difficult to deal with. And then if you just keep dropping Tarsian Pacts on the leveled versions, it's just going to be very, very difficult for people to ever deal with. And so I think these faction pump cards are potentially some of the best draft designs I've seen in a long time.
I think getting another pump spell into Necreum is really strong, because right now the only way you can viably go pump and actively always achieve your goals is if you go Utera. Like, I know Aloy and Necreum's really powerful right now, but, like, how do you pump your Night Gaunt outside of a Spirit Leash or a Scythian Augmentation? Spirit Leash is one of the most drafted cards. Scythian Augmentations are rare. You're not guaranteed to get either of those. While having this at common really makes being able to do that really strong. So I think that this is a wonderful inclusion on the draft side, and I also think it makes gimmick decks that people brew with, like, Darkheart Wanderer and Rite of Grimgaunt type stuff also do fairly cool things. Gives them that extra oomph of a start without having to be Utera. But that said, what are you guys going to be brewing for your very first 2 or 3 decks come the expansion? I have a few in mind that I've already mentioned, but what about you guys?
Well, I don't know. I want to really be able to make Aegis Knight work. Like, as you guys mentioned, I brewed a deck, Bionic Yetis, and, like, first impression, I'm playing Sentinel, so I think that this guy could find a home in it. The problem is that the slots for that deck are really tight, and I don't know if I may sacrifice some either removal or aggressive nature of the deck by adding him in it. But I think Aegis Knight will be fun to play around with. I don't know if I'll actually be making a solid deck with him or not. But then I also think Field Marshal. I would definitely like to see Field Marshal do something with the Grow Wide strategies. It's already a really strong archetype at the moment. And then just to get back to what we were saying before, I think these pump spells have potential of seeing some common constructed play, being able to be played in constructed. So I'm interested in brewing with all the cards. Short answer, but long answer is Aegis. I did that backwards. But anyway, Aegis Knight and the spell cycle. I'm really excited to play with.
Well, it's obviously expected of me that I'm probably going, if I can get a hold of them, I will be trying out Everflame Mystic, and here's why. Kaz Arcbringer, as far as I know, still gets the extra attacks if you play spells after combat.
If you Lightning Brand him
That's
after
good.
combat, currently he gets the extra attack, so yes. If you drop him after combat and Lightning Brand him, he gets to do the first attack.
There you go. Everflame Mystic, Kaz Arcbringer. Boom.
Yeah, there's going to be... Go ahead.
Go ahead, Foxy.
All right.
So...
Which is it, guys?
All right.
I wanted to
you
build with...
go.
I mentioned most of the things that I wanted to build with already. Primarily Kitfinity, some sort of Cultivate deck. Now, after our conversation and me realizing it mid-conversation, I kind of really do want to try Warwalker with Battlesuit. Maybe it's a little gimmicky, but it feels like it could be very powerful. So that might be something that I try out as well, because a 14/6 armor 1 on the first time it gets to attack, it's seems really powerful, and there aren't a whole lot of cards that directly deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows that I'm going to get a hold of as many Idolons as I can as soon as possible, because, well, I like grilling me some vegetables, and people call me crazy because I don't like playing Tarsus Deathweaver with, with all my seedlings, but I value consistency, and I feel like Wildwood Sower is, where the consistency is at. So Sower plus Eidolon gives me a very consistent engine for things to cultivate, activate Nuada, roar, just grow an entire board that people can't deal with. And I feel like Eidolon is probably going to be, my favorite card for quite a long time to go with all of those. But other than that, I mean, I'm actually really looking forward to trying to see if I can break Borean Mystic. Like, if I can get Flameblade Champion played again, I will feel very, very accomplished. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm definitely going to be trying out some form of a mobility deck and seeing how that works. It's going to be a ton of fun. That said, we do have, once again, my pack, your pick. So I'm going to go ahead and list off a first pack, 6 heroics, and let you guys determine what you would pick. And I already have my thoughts on this, but I'm sure that everybody else has some very interesting choices to make. So, for our pack, our first card is Venomous Netherscale, followed by Unrelenting Dead. Next up, we have Ride of the Grimgaunt, followed by Orian Battle Droid. Then we have Botanimate and Uranti Fire Fist. What do you guys think?
Well, Allowan being my favorite faction, I want to pick the Battle Droid, and I really want to, but I think Rite of the Grimgaunt's a really solid card for considering the options we have here. It allows you, if it's your first pick, it allows you to possibly get a lot of really solid cards that go with the Rite of the Grimgaunt and make a solid deck. So I would probably go with the Rite of the Grimgaunt, but then kicking myself for not picking the Battle Droid.
This is... I mean, I think that Rite of the Grimgaunt is a slam dunk pick here. It's so good. It's just so good. You can stick it on just about anything that has a butt, and it won't die. Or armor. It just won't die. It'll wreck everything at every single level. Rite of the Grimgaunt in draft is fantastic, and if I saw one first pick, I would take it over almost anything.
Including legendaries?
Well, I have most of the legendaries. Almost all legendaries. There's some. There's some that are better. So, I'd probably take a Phoenix. I'd probably take a Gargoyle. I'd probably take a Zimus. There are definitely legendaries that are better than Rite of the Grimgaunt, but awesome card draft.
I think for me, the only I would not want the Uranti Fire Fist, the Botanimate, or the Unrelenting Dead. The other three are all viable options. I think of those, I'm least likely to take Orian Battle Droid because people play a lot more of Contagion, Surge, Spectre, or rather Banshee and Spirit, in addition to also getting to play Viric's Embrace and Ghastly Touch. So I think that Battle Droid really it's kind of like Allied in a way. Allied Utera, you can play this card. So if you don't have it, it's really hard to actually be able to play that card. I think it would really depend. If I was drafting with other people, I would totally take Rite of the Grimgaunt because I feel like it's a funner card, but I really like Venomous Netherscale. A 4/8 trades with almost every level 1 creature that's out there. Trades with all the big ones, especially Corpse Crawler and Nexus Pilot, the ones that you're going to see in draft. At level 2, it does something very, very, very similar, and at level 3, it has upside. It is much better Noxious Cloud on a stick. Not that Noxious Cloud, like when you multiply anything by 0. I mean, it can have value. So I actually think that Netherscale is I actually think it's much closer to Rite of the Grimgaunt, but I think I'd still most of the time take the Rite of the Grimgaunt. We all know how I like to build monsters, so what do you think, Fox?
Yeah, so for me it is between Rite of the Grimgaunt and Netherscale, but like you said, it depends on whether or not I'm doing a draft for fun. If I want to win, if I want to do well that draft, I will slam pick that Rite of the Grimgaunt. I will grab as many either regenerate creatures or armor creatures as I can grab. I remember the other week I slammed a Rite of the Grimgaunt on an Aether Guard and then tech upgraded it, and it never died. It was rather dumb. But
Or
at the same
awesome.
time, what?
Or awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a typo in the prompter there.
What prompter? But if I'm going for a fun draft, for sure I'm going to take that Venomous Netherscale and pick up every single Poison Coil I can see and just laugh. Poison Coils, not so much Ghost Scale Cobras, but I will pick up Venom Fangs, and I'm just going to laugh because people aren't going to be able to deal with it. You're going to play this creature that's already pretty good on its own. You're going to play Poison Coil, which is already difficult enough to deal with, and then you're going to just look at one of their creatures, just have that Poison Coil, look at one of the creatures, play your Netherscale, and suddenly that creature's dead. What just happened? People don't know. It's going to be great, and I'm going to love it, and I'm going to have a great time with it. So I'm still going to slam dunk pick probably the Rite of the Grimgaunt here, but Venomous Netherscale is very, very tempting.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure for me, like, that people realize that it was actually a closer pick than just slam Rite of Grimgaunt. I mean, you are going to slam Rite of Grimgaunt, but I at least want you to consider the Netherscale. I mean...
It's a good card.
Well, for me, it's the Battle Droid, too. Now I have a question for you guys. Let's say that the mini expansion was already out. Would that change any of your first pick, or would you still go Rite of the Grimgaunt hands down?
I would probably still go Rite of the Grimgaunt hands down.
Yeah.
I think that Tarsis... So the Tarsis Pact, Tarsissian Pact, actually makes me lean far more towards that card. And I feel that it makes me even more want to go AN and grab the Aetherforge Oracle so I can level the Rite of the Grimgaunts even when I don't get the opportunity to play them in player level 1.
Yep.
That's interesting. I would kind of go with the Battle Suit then for the Battle Droid. Then you have a really aggressive Battle Droid and
There's
not a
still
lot of
nice to
epidemics.
do a Contagion Search.
Oh, yeah. I hear you, but it's still fun.
Yes.
That's my only issue with taking a Battle Droid, is that it just dies to everything unless you have something like a Dryad's Boon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so many cards that just kill it.
It's so difficult to get it rolling. Once you get it rolling, it's great, but getting it rolling in this format, especially with how popular Necreum is, it's just not reliable.
I could buy that.
All right, well...
I could sell it.
That said, I do want to thank you, Technonaut, for coming back for our inaugural, or whatever the word is, our recommissioned Player Level 4. We're happy to be back. I'm hoping this will continue to be a regular thing again now that Fox has internet that's capable of moving more than a tic-tac an hour.
I know, right? Oh, my word.
There were not enough beep boops. So... I'm really happy to be back. Thank you guys for coming back. This has been a lot of fun. Hope to see you again in another couple weeks with a new patch out and new exciting things to talk about and new cards to call overpowered and get nerfed. Have a fantastic one, guys. Goodbye.
See you all later.
Bye. Bye. Bye.